Driver, start your engines. Listening to the fastest show on iSports Radio. My name is Darren Kinsey Jr. Welcome you to the Lap Dance Mile for today, October the 1st, 2020. And boy, oh boy, do we have a lot to get into tonight. We've got a new schedule in NASCAR. We've got a new controversy in Formula One. And at all points in between, we've also got a new schedule in IndyCar. It's got a lot of people ruffled up in terms of the amount of ovals on the schedule. We'll get to that. I'm going to get to that with my co-hosts for this evening, Christopher Lehman and Michael Ward. Gentlemen, welcome aboard.
How's it going?
It's going well. I hope you guys had a great week. I know all of us were excited to see the NASCAR schedule announcement on Wednesday, which we're going to start off with. Before we get in there, I always want to ask, how was your week, and what did you think of the races last weekend?
You can go first, Michael.
The races were good. They're honestly pretty good. I didn't get to watch the NASCAR race all that much. I was kind of focusing on the F1 race, which was a big mistake on my behalf because
it was.
It's Sochi. It's kind of a no disrespect to people who like Sochi, but it's kind of a snooze fest.
There's people that like Sochi?
Believe it or not, yes.
How?
I don't know. You're going to have to ask them that.
Christopher, what did you think? 'Cause I definitely want to ask them a few questions. One of those questions is how much they've been drinking tonight. Anyway, Christopher, what did you think of the races this week?
Christopher? No, we lost him, Chief.
I think Skype is being Skype again. So we will get Christopher back, but we shall continue on. We're going to start with the schedule here in NASCAR 2021. A majority of our time is probably going to be spent on this schedule because there is so much that we have got to talk about. There's tracks that have been added to the schedule. There's tracks that are gone from the schedule entirely and may not be coming back. But first, we're going to get a genuine impression. Michael, what were your first thoughts when you saw all the announcements coming out?
I was honestly kind of happy because, in my opinion, NASCAR could use some more variety in its races.
Mm-hmm.
So the addition of Road America was one I'm looking forward to. I think that's awesome. But there are honestly some tracks that I'm just kind of iffy about. I'm glad that Atlanta, is getting some more recognition. That's great. I love that track. But honestly, one thing that's kind of confusing me is, Daryl, we're going to Bristol, but we're going in the dirt.
Yeah, I'm also not a fan of Bristol in the dirt. Genuine impression.
Sounds great on paper, it sounds great, but when you think about it, you're just kind of like, eh.
Yeah. First thoughts from me were for the schedule was a big yes, except for that. I'm glad that we've got COTA coming in. Road America has pretty much been the worst kept secret in NASCAR. Pretty much everybody knew that was coming since really, I want to say June of this year, everyone knew that race was coming in. COTA is a nice surprise. The addition of the Indianapolis Roval is nice. I don't like that that's coming at the expense of the Brickyard 400. because we're moving from the oval to the road course. And, of course, Bristol on dirt, which, while is great in NASCAR Heat 5, doesn't really sound that appealing in real life, to be honest. The last time they did that race was 2001 with the 2001 with the World of Outlaws, and it wasn't that great. They had issues with the dirt staying in place. Also, it hurt the concrete to where they had to do the repave, which now made everybody mad at the race, or mad at Bristol, because, you know, it's no longer a demo derby, it's an actual racetrack. But I'm going to try to learn to live with it, but we'll see what happens. We're going to try and see if we get Christopher back again. Christopher, do we have you? Does not look like it. Christopher? Okay, he's still working through his technical difficulties, so we'll continue. I think that was the only part of the schedule that I was not excited about, to be honest, this dirt race in the spring for Bristol. So they're going to have one dirt race, and then the night race is going to be on pavement. My other issue with it is we're going to have a majority of the races not have practice or qualifying to save teams on having to build backup cars, yet we're making them spend all this money to build a one-off car for a dirt race that we don't even know is going to be around long term. Kind of similar situation with the trucks. What's the point of it? So I don't know how this race is going to go. I want to like it, but I have a bad feeling it's not going to be as good as everyone thinks it's going to be.
Yeah, like I was saying, on paper it sounds great, but when you think about it, it's not that great. It's kind of a hit or miss in my opinion, because I like the idea of racing in the dirt, but I don't think the cars and the package is what's gonna be good for it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's best. You know, Xfinity and trucks, honestly.
Yeah, that package
Cup
yet to be.
guys should stay with Cup guys should stay on the asphalt, but
Mm-hmm.
lower end series should go on you know
Yeah, my issue with it.
dirt.
My issue with it isn't so much that it's the Cup Series running on dirt. My problem is it's a one-off race that's also a points race. That's my biggest issue with it. They're never going to be on dirt after this. And, this is going to be the only dirt race of the year for the Cup car. So they're going to have to spend all this money. And it's a huge wild card race that it's going to probably cause issues. And somebody may end up missing the playoffs because of this race, because it also counts for points. Well, you could say that the plate races are also wild cards, need to be correct, but we go to those 4 times a year. We're not going to another dirt race after the dirt race at Bristol, and then you've got the issue of it hurting the pavement like it did in 2000, 2001, that may necessitate another fixing of the pavement by a repave, and we all know what happened the last time they repaved this racetrack. So it's just a frustration for me that we're doing this, but oh well, we're here. We're gonna try Christopher again. Christopher, if you can hear us, you got any thoughts on that? For some reason his microphone is not transmitting, and I cannot figure it out because Skype is just being Skype tonight. But whatever. Let's go through some of the positives that we have. And one of the first is Darlington has 2 races again. First time since 2004 that we're going to Darlington twice in a year. Atlanta now has 2 races. First time since 2010 for that racetrack. These are 2 tracks that have good tire wear, that are tracks that really test the drivers, and they've got 2 dates. Michael, I can't find a reason to be upset about that. I think it's a good move. What do you think?
I honestly agree with you. I think it's a great move for them.
Am I back?
Yes, finally. There we go.
Yes,
Oh,
you're back.
gee. Sorry about that, folks. For some reason, my Wi-Fi is not working in my house. I dropped my phone, and it's been acting crazy. My laptop is too old to use, and my iPad is first gen, and they don't support Skype anymore. So I'm like in a technology dead zone here tonight.
Oof. Yeah, technology would do that. So if you've heard us, we've been talking about the schedule. You've moved on to the 2 races in Atlanta and Darlington. What are your thoughts on those tracks finally getting their second dates back?
I think it's going to be exciting. I tweeted out, hopefully on my main account, not one of my anonymous dud accounts, but that with Atlanta, we just handed Kevin Harvick another victory next year. So yeah, the Harvick fans can rejoice over that one, and we all get to watch him win one more week, I guess.
We definitely will. And a lot of people will say this is like righting of the wrongs when it came to the adjustments of the schedule. When NASCAR first started going out west, they had Atlanta on there for 2 dates, and then they took one away. Darlington had the Southern 500 moved to November at one point, and they lost their second date for us to go to California, which that race didn't hold up for all that long. So it's kind of a righting of the sins of the 2004 big schedule shakeup that cost us tracks like Rockingham and this date at Darlington and others. And Darlington puts on great racing. And what helped Darlington, in my opinion, I think both of you would agree, we restarted with 2 races at Darlington, and seeing them run so well there during the day, it really brought back the memories of old. And like, yeah, this place is really good. We should have never moved this race to begin with. So it's a really replacement of what was a good idea at the time, but didn't prove to be a good idea long lasting. So 2 dates at Atlanta, 2 dates at Darlington. This does come at the expense of some racetracks, though. Kentucky completely off the schedule next year. Chicagoland also completely off the schedule. We have no idea what's going to happen with Kentucky, but with rumors have been circulating about the future of Chicagoland not being as solid as we thought, and then you bring on the pandemic, the fact that we did not go there this year due to the pandemic. There was a huge laying off of the staff, and now this, fellas, it sounds like they may be taking the bulldozers to Chicagoland Speedway sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and to be honest, I kind of saw it happening because the track, in my opinion, just isn't one of those talked about tracks anymore. I just can't see it staying anymore, and that along with surprisingly the Brickyard 400 going away.
Yeah, we're gonna
also another surprising thing.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that in a moment. I like Chicagoland. I think it's one of the more unique tracks where it's basically a giant circle when you look at it, because the backstretch isn't really a straight line. It's got a curve in it all the way around, so you never really stop turning at that track. Kentucky was a great idea, but it never put on races worth seeing. And they put progressive banking on that racetrack, and it didn't help at all. So, Christopher, my feelings on it are, I'm sad to see Chicagoland go. I'm not really that sad that Kentucky is gone. I don't know if you agree. What do you think about it?
I echo those sentiments completely. Chicagoland was a pretty fun track to race, and Kentucky could go either way for me. It was decent sometimes, but other times, it wasn't so good. So overall, I'm okay with those changes. Chicagoland could stay for me, but I'm okay with Kentucky going.
Yeah. Do you think that either track gets back on the schedule at some point, or do you think they are both gone forever?
Well, it sounds like Chicagoland's probably gone forever. But Kentucky, yeah, I mean, as long as they're not planning anything for that space, I don't see why they couldn't come around again and next time these contracts are up.
And Mike, Taryn, Davidson, thank you guys so much for listening. I know they're hanging out in the chat with us tonight. And if you want to hang out with the chat with us, of course you can sign in on Spreaker.com and jump in and talk with us during the show. I will say that I hope Chicagoland is not gone, but it feels like Road America is going to take that spot. I would like to see Gateway get on the schedule. I know that is an oval a lot of people would like to see the Cup cars at. We haven't gotten there yet. I would really like to see a race there at some point. And of course,
I want Rockingham back, but that's asking for a lot.
I don't think we're going to get Rockingham back. Rockingham and North Wilkesboro are two tracks where I go, it would be nice, but one, that area is already oversaturated, and people didn't go the last time Rockingham was open in one case. So I really don't see those tracks making it back to the schedule. So one of the big announcements on the schedule, one of the things that caught a lot of people's eyes, is the fact that we now have 6 road course races on the schedule, joining the traditional races at Watkins Glen and Sonoma. We also have, of course, the Charlotte Roval. We have the Indianapolis race moving to a road course from an oval. So the Brickyard 400, for all intents and purposes, is no more. That's going to be replaced with this new road course race that is coming next season. We have Road America added to the schedule, and also the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. So, guys, which new road course race are you excited about the most?
Road America for me, definitely.
Yeah, I was going to say Road America too. Over Indy. Indy was good for the Xfinity race, but it's one of those things like the Truck Series has Eldora. You know, give the Xfinity something besides Iowa, I guess.
I am actually the most excited for COTA. I really want to see the Cup cars there just because we don't believe in term limits, but we don't believe in corner limits or track limits here in NASCAR. So if it's paved, they're going to run it. And it's going to be really funny seeing a lot of the European fans complaining that NASCAR on a traditional Formula One circuit abusing track limits when we don't have them during that weekend. That is going to be entertaining, to say the least. But to get that race, we had to take a race from the Texas Motor Speedway. But for that to happen, the All-Star race will now be a Sunday night event at the Texas Motor Speedway. We know how everyone feels about that racetrack by now. Do you think Texas will be able to jazz up what has been a flagging event in the All-Star race the last couple of years? Honestly, I don't think so, because ever since the repave, the racing at Texas has not been good. And I don't see the All-Star race fixing that.
Yeah, okay, I'll go. Yeah, I don't Texas. Am I like doubling up on the volume or what I'm saying?
No, you're good.
Okay. It's talking back to me on my phone. It's throwing me off. I don't see Texas making this all-star race good. Like you said, we all know how we feel about Texas. I feel the same way as everybody else. That, to me, I would have rather saw Texas lose a day than see Chicago lose its day. I'm not too excited about the All-Star race. I would have rather saw that as the Bristol Dirt Race than going to Texas.
Yeah, and that goes back to how I feel about the dirt race being a points race. It should have been the All-Star race because it is a one-off event that doesn't matter for points. It's a one-off race. I don't know if we're going to see many more dirt races. I know Chase Briscoe threw out there putting dirt on New Hampshire, but no, just no.
No.
I don't like the idea of this being a points race. And that's my big deal with the Bristol dirt race, is that it's a points race and not like a one-off, hey, let's just have fun type event. We will see about the All-Star race at Texas, but I don't see this saving Texas as a racetrack. It's just Texas, they're going to have to repave it. They really are. They're going to have to fix what they did to turns 3 and 4 to make that track better, to be honest, because there was no reason to do that. On the other end of things, we do have a new oval joining the circuit. Nashville Superspeedway returns to NASCAR after a long absence. They're going to get a cup date on June 20th. That takes a date away from Dover. Nashville, also owned by the Dover Motorsports Group. That is going to be running the 750 horsepower low downforce package. That's going to be a fun race, in my opinion. I always liked the Nashville Superspeedway. I know a lot of people didn't. Michael, are you excited to see Nashville back on the schedule?
I like Nashville. Nashville had some really exciting races there. I don't see why people hate it.
It's just the thing about cookie cutter racetracks, as we called them, but we'll see how things go. And Christopher, this is a race that a lot of people think is a prelude to a return to the Nashville Fairgrounds for Cup. However, that track is currently fighting for its life due to the fight over the stadium for Nashville FC. So people are treating this, they're quote-unquote tolerating it because they think we're going to go back to the fairgrounds circuit, which I don't think the fairgrounds is going to survive that fight. What do you think the fan response is going to be long-term for the Nashville Superspeedway track? Because a lot of people seem to have a irrational hatred of the intermediates, I'll put it that way. But this could end up being one of the good ones, especially using the low downforce package.
Yeah. So I think that people are going to be excited about having that low downforce back enough that they're going to, at least for this year, they'll be able to take a punch to the gut about the fairgrounds, I think. But I don't see the fairground, like you said, I don't see them coming out of this and moving a Cup Series to the fairgrounds. It sounds like they're on the losing end of that battle. And Nashville, I think it's all going to come down to this first race. If the first time we go back, if it puts on a great show, then I think the fans are going to be all about it. But if it's a snooze fest or it's just boring, I think you're going to see some buyer's remorse from the fans.
And we will see what happens. Hopefully it's a good race, and the big question is going to be how many fans are going to be at some of these races, given the uncertainty with COVID-19, because the hope is it'll be more under control and we'll have a vaccine distributed by the time we get to Nashville, and we can have just a regular race. But we have no idea what's going to go on with that, and we don't know when the full lifting of the restrictions are going to come, which may make judging the fan response to that race difficult because we just don't know how many people are going to be allowed in the first place. And that's a big headache going into 2020 for all of these dates, particularly races at the beginning of the schedule: Daytona, Homestead, Auto Club, Vegas, and Phoenix, races that are no doubt going to have severe restrictions on how many people are going to be there, if fans are allowed at all, which we will see when we get there. Pocono is the only doubleheader this season. They're going to run June 26th and June 27th. I thought we would see some more of those doubleheaders. That did not come to pass this season. We may see more of that in 2022. We shall see. And going forward, that is your Cup Series schedule. A lot more diverse schedule than what we've seen. I give it an A+. Honestly, it's hit a lot of the positives that we wanted. We wanted a more diverse schedule. We wanted more road courses. We got the dirt race that I was about. Not really excited that's going to be at Bristol, but I think we're going to be in for a heck of a 2021. And then you throw the new next-gen car at these races in 2022. This is going to be a lot of fun. Michael, what are your thoughts on the schedule?
I just want to wait and see how it pans out. It sounds exciting, but I want to see how it pans out before I have it.
Christopher, what are your thoughts on the schedule?
I'm going to give it an A-, and that's because I think they're going to find that they oversaturated the road course market. I think people are going to get bored of it. And also, I didn't want to see the dirt race be a points race, not at least for the first go-around. Maybe next year, if it goes good at a non-points paying race, maybe we say, okay, let's move it in. But we have no idea what this is going to look like, and it's going to be scary. And I look for guys like Christopher Bell to sneak in and grab a win there.
Yep. And possibly Kyle Larson if he gets reinstated, which may be possible, but we will see. That 48 is still open. Just going to say that.
If Larson ends up in the 48 and obviously Christopher Bell going to the 20, those two in good equipment, they could put on a battle for the ages.
Not to mention Bubba Wallace. He did beat Larson the last time NASCAR National Series car or vehicles were on dirt way back when during the early years of the Dirt Derby at Eldora. So we will see what happens. This schedule is going to be interesting. As far as what happened at Las Vegas, before we continue, Kurt Busch is the only one going into the next two races with, he's the only one going into the next two races that is going to sleep peacefully on the weekends because he won the race, finally broke that over 21 streak. Austin Dillon finds himself in a must-win situation after a good day went awry as he ended up losing the belts on the cooling, lost cooling belts, and they had to replace the belt, of course. With so few cars dropping out of that race, Austin Dillon had a poor finish, and he's going to have to rally back at Talladega and the Roval. So, Austin Dillon, good luck to that. So, we'll be right back after this. When we come back, we're going to share quickly our thoughts on the 24 Hours of the Nürburgring, and then we're going to get into some issues that happened during the Formula One event, the Russian Grand Prix, and there's an angry Lewis Hamilton, not just angry at the field, but angry at the FIA. That spells trouble for the rest of the field. More of that on the other side of this break here on the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey guys, it's Blake Henley, better known as H-Town Blake to some of you. Happy to announce that Bases Loaded is back in full force. We'll be bringing that high heat every Tuesday night here on IE Sports Radio. So come home, get ready, dig into that batter's box, and see if you can chase that high heat, baby. So we'll be coming to you live with all the stats, all the rundowns, all the division rivalries, and every team that's going to make the playoff push to get to that one and only October and get to the pinnacle of what baseball is, to hoist that Commissioner's Trophy when it's all said and done.
Hey, what's up, sports fans? You're looking for a different type of sports talk show, something you haven't heard before? You gotta check out the BS3 Sports Show every other Saturday on 2 Live Stews Radio. 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern. Sports talk at its finest. Always have great guests, playing some good hip-hop. You don't want to miss it. Make sure to tune in to the BS3 Sports Show every other Saturday at 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern.
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los Great, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy, awesome white tea. We're coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Welcome back to the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Daryl, Michael, and Christopher here with you this evening. I'm going to touch really quickly on the 24 Hours of Nürburgring before we continue. I had that race on for most of the day. Christopher, I don't know if you caught any of it, but what I will always say about that race, it's always entertaining, but the sheer variety of cars they have that race is almost overwhelming because they have everything from race-bred GT3 cars to what basically amounts to Renault Clios with racing stickers on them. And if you don't know what a Renault Clio is, it's basically a grocery getting hatchback. That's basically what that is. It's Europe's version of that. It is one of the most unique endurance races of the season. I will say that.
Yeah, definitely one of the more fun races. I'm going to go. Being the endurance fan I am, you would think I'd have watched it, but I didn't. I'm going to probably go back and watch some highlights just to see all the action that happened.
Yeah, I had sent you guys in the Twitter group the video. It always sucks when it rains really heavy like that at night, but I didn't really get to watch it. I had a pretty busy weekend, but I did catch a couple videos and I read up on a little bit of what happened, but unfortunately I prioritized the Russian GP over catching that in the morning.
Yeah, that was a interesting race. The leader actually crashed out of that event due to just torrential rainfall on the mountain, which ended up with the race being red flagged for pretty much the duration of the nighttime portion of that race. They got restarted at about 7 in the morning, so they had a pretty good time to get rested and rejuvenated for the end. Rowe Racing ended up winning the event with BMW. First time BMW won the race in the GT3 era. So congratulations to them. Cannot wait to get that race back next year, and hopefully it will be a race, with fans at it, as we can say goodbye to COVID-19. It was really weird not really seeing anyone around the racetrack, as most international races are really not allowing a lot of fans due to, of course, the virus that has been with us for now 7 months. Or been with us uncontrolled for 7 months. Got to be specific about that because it's never really actually going to go away. So, going into Formula One now, and what I will say about this, the FIA has ticked off the wrong driver. And to bring more context, at the start of the Russian Grand Prix, there was apparently a technical regulation change into how the practice starts were supposed to be done. Lewis Hamilton, as he was going out to the grid after qualifying on the pole and probably going to win a race at a track that is not the most exciting, goes out and does practice starts, asks the team, is it okay for me to do the practice starts here? They say yeah. So he goes out and does the practice starts. He does 2 of them. Apparently he was out too far for the FIA's liking, so they slap him with 2 5-second penalties, one for each practice start, which basically takes him out of the running before the start of the race. This all comes after there's a bulletin that comes out saying that drivers can only be in their race overalls during the weekend. This comes after Lewis Hamilton got on the podium at the Tuscan Grand Prix wearing the Arrest the Cops That Killed Breonna Taylor shirt, which apparently violated the FIA's ruling on political messages, even though they've had a vast majority of the grid kneeling at the start before each race and everybody wearing End Racism shirts, which Lewis's shirt was in the same vein, but a lot less subtle. That drew the ire of a lot of people in the week before, as it was said after that race that the shirt was originally going to be investigated by the FIA. They ended up backpedaling on that pretty quickly after the reaction on social media, which was swift and condemning. Then you have the new regulation with them having to be in their overalls, which sounds like they're hitting out at Lewis over his shirt. And then this, and I know they don't mean for it to look like this, but guys, it really feels like Formula One's only black driver is being targeted by the sanctioning body. And that brings up what I'm going to say uncomfortable questions that people have to deal with. I don't know how the FIA gets out of this, but Michael, I'll go to you first. Lewis Hamilton pretty much has the feeling that they're trying to stop him from running away with this championship, and it's going to be very hard to shake that feeling.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think about it. You got to think about how it looks. He's dominating the field, and I'm kind of hearing myself.
Probably it's probably going on with the input for Spreaker, but continue.
Yeah, he's dominating the field right now. He's got the championship in the bag. Ferrari are having issues. Red Bull isn't fast enough to catch them. So, excuse me. The only person that can really challenge him is Bottas. Bottas can't really challenge him. So it looks like, they're starting to pull out BS penalties just to get him to, lose.
Mm-hmm.
Because this happened last weekend, where I forgot the reason why he was penalized. And then it also happened the weekend before.
Well, Monza was on them when he pitted in the closed pit lane, so that was on them.
Yeah, but it just feels like that penalty. Also, we've never heard of that penalty before.
No.
We didn't know if that was on the rule book or anything, so it's just the way it looks. It's just kind of iffy.
It doesn't look good. I'm going to swing to Christopher, get him involved in the conversation. Christopher, the FIA they're in a bad spot right now, and they have been taking it on the chin for a couple of years with their decisions. This is not the year to be having these problems with everything that's happened here internationally. How does the FIA rectify this situation, and how do they talk to this driver in Lewis Hamilton that has such a big following, is such a novelty in this sport for, who he is? How do they go to him and say, we're not targeting you, when it really looks like they are targeting him based on what's going on?
I think that the place that they should look at is the NFL. look at when Colin Kaepernick first started his protest, the NFL completely blacklisted him.
Yep.
Wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole. And then this year, that's when Roger Goodell and the powers that be decided, okay, this is an image problem for us. This is going to hurt us in the pocketbook, which is the only way that you can hurt these people is in their pocketbooks.
Yep.
And the NFL, I think, is probably starting to gain back some of those people that were pissed and not supporting their teams as much. I think they're getting them back. I think that they're finding that the fans are engaging with them again, and that's what the FIA needs to do. Is they need to quickly, and I mean quickly, reconsider the the suit. You know, if he wants to wear that shirt, he should do it. And I think they need to revisit that policy quickly to save face.
Yeah, I think they really need to. The NFL has taken it on the chin for the past few years ever since that decision, and they just can't get out their own way when it comes to the Colin Kaepernick decision. The most recent thing on that, and we'll talk about this briefly before we get back to racing, the comments about teams were looking at him. Apparently no one actually called his agent, so the NFL just continues to mess that up. The FIA needs to understand that the issue that they're stepping into is not a political issue. It is an issue where there is no counterpoint. And if it looks like you're trying to both sides it, you're going to get hit hard, especially by our generation that is not playing this. The NFL rolled that dice and lost. The NBA diverted to their players, and it's gone a lot better than them. The FIA is going to need to have a sit down with Lewis Hamilton and try to smooth this over, because he's got a huge audience and he is extremely influential. And not only that, we're going to the Tuscan GP, or not Tuscan GP. We're going back to Italy this weekend. You got a ticked off Lewis Hamilton, who by dead to rights should have had that Russian Grand Prix this weekend. He's going to be mad they didn't get that win. He is about to put a whooping on this field the rest of the season, the likes that you have never seen before, especially, and I left this part out, he almost had 2 more penalty points on his license for this, which would have put him in danger of missing a race. If Lewis Hamilton missed a race over this, the explosion from fans and Hamilton himself would not have been pretty. The FIA does not understand the fire that they're playing with. I need them to understand it. I need them to go talk to Roger Goodell and figure out how this has gone for them, because it's gone very poorly for the NFL. The FIA, if any one of them is listening, and I doubt it, don't be the NFL. This is not going to end well for you. It's definitely not going to end well for the rest of the field, but it's definitely not going to end well for you. And Joe Peter just joined the chat. He just said, Lewis Hamilton was wronged at Russia, and the FIA really needs to visit the rule not allowing the T-shirt. Christopher, you said that as well. I agree as well. They need to definitely revisit it. Michael, I guess we'll make it a three-peat here. Do you think they need to revisit that issue as well?
Yes, I do.
So I guess we're a perfect 3 for 3.
They need to understand what they're doing right now.
And before we continue, I just saw something pop up on Twitter that is very interesting for the future of NASCAR. This is from Bob Pockris. Apparently, he was answering a question from a Twitter user. Any new engine for the next-gen car, which is rumored there is going to be a new engine for the next-gen car, will be 2023. However, there is a possibility, and I want to stress this, possibility of any electrification components, i.e. hybridization, coming in 2022 when the new car debuts. That is important because IMSA is also going to electrification with the Le Mans Daytona hypercar that they have in partnership with the ACO. NASCAR owns IMSA, and if they're going to put a KERS system into the sports cars, and NASCAR pretty much needs electrification in the Cup cars for them to draw new manufacturers, there is a greater than average chance that you could see a hybrid NASCAR Cup vehicle on the racetrack in 2022. Fellas, this hasn't been confirmed, but I'm excited at the prospect of a KERS added next gen Cup car. What do you guys think?
I like the idea, actually. Definitely make the racing a little bit more exciting. Not that it hasn't been already, but you know, the added KERS system in a NASCAR, that's interesting.
Christopher, this
take that out for super speedway racing though, but that's just me.
Christopher, this is going to be the most radical change in NASCAR when and if it happens, or pretty much when it happens at this point. Since they first moved to EFI, what are your thoughts on this move?
So my Twitter handle is Fiji Sims, and I want you to go ahead and at me on this one because I love it. I want full electric eventually, not right now. I still love the sounds and the smells, but full electric. Give it to me in 10 years. I love the direction. And also, we didn't even mention that today it came out that Hendrick and RCR, their engine shops, they're going to be cooperating now. They're working together, which is something Chevy needs big time.
Something they should have been doing for a while, by the way.
Give me the electric. I love it. And
Same.
also, and I don't want a monologue, too bad, but look at California. They are doing no more gas and diesel engine sales. 2035, I believe, is no more fossil fuel engines. So what does that do for racing out there? You know, are they going to be allowed to bring, if we're still running, you know, fuel engines, are we allowed to run them out there or not? So I think that there's a shift coming. And New York, where I live, we love to be progressive too, so we could see similar things happening. So I think it's the direction that the world is going overall, and it's better to be ahead of the curve.
I am excited to see this move. I want it to come as fast as possible, and you're right on that California deal, and I believe that is going to be a trend going forward. They're the first state to do it. They're not going to be the last state to make that change. And with them moving forward, NASCAR is going to have to go electric if they want to remain racing in general. And people need to understand this. If racing is going to survive past us, it's going to be electric because every manufacturer is going EV or hydrogen at this point. Europe is talking about, the European Union is talking about getting rid of their diesel and traditional fuel powered cars. I think France is the first country that's actually getting rid of them completely. Other countries are going to follow. The fuel efficiency standards are going to keep going up to where the traditional fossil fuels are just not going to cut it. We've reached the limit of how much energy you can get out of those fuels, and you're going to have to go a new direction. That means exploring electric or seeing what hydrogen can do, or having a hydroelectric combination in the vehicle. Either way, we are living in the dying days of the internal combustion engine, and I am excited to see what the future for racing has. And Joe agrees with us in the comments. He says that he supports NASCAR hybrid or full electric. The noise from the cars won't be an issue with any potential street course planning. That is important because they are planning on doing street courses, or hopefully having street course races in the future for NASCAR. I want to hit a couple more points before we get into nearest the win. I don't know if you guys saw this, but IndyCar announced their new schedule. We are down to 3 ovals now. 2 runs at Texas and a race at Gateway, and that is outside of course, the Indy 500. Feels like we are losing open wheel oval racing, and to be honest, I'm not surprised because a lot of drivers, Michael, they just won't do it due to the speed factor.
I can kind of understand the fact that they don't want to do it because of the speed factor. It does get dangerous and it does get risky out there. We saw how that happened last year. I do think the idea of having more road courses is great. And to be honest with you, these cars look like they suit road course racing. So I think it's great. I don't think they'll be getting too many fan appreciation from that because oval IndyCar racing is also really good, but I would say, just see how it goes first before anybody decides to, complain about it because they do seem like they want more safer racing, and I think this is the best way to go about it.
Christopher, we're starting to lose our open wheel oval dates. We already know that this has really been a thing since 2011, the tragic passing of Dan Weldon. So we go forward, it's looking like we're going into a future where the only oval race may be the Indianapolis 500 when it comes to the NTT Data IndyCar series.
Yeah, I am open to those changes. Like you said, the faster you're going, the more dangerous it's going to be. That's just inherently, everybody understands that. So I'm okay with them moving out of the ovals just because of the danger involved. Mm-hmm. One life can be saved by not running those. So I'm okay with it, and it will also bring back some of the fans to the Indy 500 because I believe that they're having a tiny bit of a attendance is going down a little bit, but all motorsports are. But I think that'll make that event just a tiny bit more special to other people.
It is definitely a special race all by its own. If we ever get Matt Owens back on here, pretty much he could talk our ear off for several hours about that event. But we'll see what happens when it comes to IndyCar and their situation with the ovals. 14 of the 17 races next year are going to be on road or street circuits for IndyCar, and a schedule that was universally panned by the IndyCar crowd, which is different because for the majority of NASCAR fans were excited, except for those that want more short tracks. And I wasn't going to get on this soapbox, but y'all, there's a lot that is required to put on a NASCAR Cup Series race, and a lot of these short tracks don't have it. They really don't. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But before we go out, do want to give an update on how the NHRA went with their first event outside of Indianapolis since the pandemic happened, the Amali Motor Oil NHRA Gator Nationals. Alex Laughlin won the Pro Stock division. Ron Capps won the Funny Car division. And Steve Torrance, in that beautiful rendition of Don Garlett's Swamp Rat 14, wins in Top Fuel. Torrance back on top of the point standings in the NHRA Top Fuel division, and he is proving why those Capco boys week in, week out are hard to beat. The next race for the NHRA is going to be, as I head over to NHRA.com, going to be this week, October 2nd through the 4th, with the Mopar Express Lane NHRA Midwest Nationals at Worldwide Technology Raceway, the drag strip on the property at the Worldwide Technology Raceway. Interesting about that is the oval is actually on the back side, or the drag strip is actually on the back side of the front stretch of the oval. So you can actually see the grandstands when you actually watch a NHRA or drag racing event from Gateway. So that event will be this weekend. You can catch that racing on FS1. So with that said, it is time for us to get into Nearest the Win. We got 2 IndyCar races we got to pick for, Formula One and NASCAR. NASCAR is at Talladega. That is the greatest of wild cards. And I'm going to go with a driver that desperately needs a win. I think Austin Dillon wins there. Formula One, we pretty much know Lewis Hamilton's going to win that race, but I can't pick him this week, so I'm going to go Bottas. And when it comes to IndyCar, Willpower, Simon Pagenaud, always good at the Indianapolis road course. I'm going to ride with Willpower for the doubleheader at Indianapolis. Michael, who you got?
For Talladega, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with Brad Keselowski.
Okay.
For F1, I think I can use Hamilton since I didn't pick him last week, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go with him. And IndyCar, I'm gonna go with Newgarden because I think I went with Scott Dixon last time.
Christopher, who you got?
Talladega, I'm going to go with Denny Hamlin. He's doing pretty good on the restrictor plate tracks the last couple of years, so Denny Hamlin's my guy there. In F1, I'm going to go Bottas, and in IndyCar, since it's my first time picking, I'm going to go with Mr. Dixon himself.
And Joe Peter in our chat said he's going to take Logano, Newgarden, and Power for these races, or for the races this weekend as well. So that's Logano, Newgarden, and Power for him. So, fellas, thank you so much for joining me this evening. Remember, if you want to get in touch with us on Twitter, I'm at DKJunior12. Michael's at Michael_Ward25, and Chris is at Fiji Sims. Also, keep track of our social medias for IE Sports Radio on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And check out IESportsRadio.com for more information on all of our shows. And if you've missed any episode of any IE Sports Radio show, you can hear our podcasts recorded on anywhere where podcasts can be heard. And if you want to hear me ramble on more about racing, check me out on Tuesdays on WBGR Sports Network for 2Y Tuesday with me at 2 p.m. on Tuesdays. So, with that being said, this has been The Extra Mile for Christopher and Michael. I'm Daryl. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you at the next green flag. Good night, everybody.